Good morning, everyone. June 19th, 2020, and welcome to episode number 30 of the Project 2020 show. We are now at the end of week number 13 when it comes to the releases with the Henderson and the Bob Gibson getting announced. As I said, the purple and the pink border parallel. So we'll see how those sell. One card I like, one card I'm a little iffy on at the moment, but it's an interesting way and a cool way to end the week after some really great cards. Also, if you missed any of my videos from this week, please check out the playlist below, and it'll direct you to all the videos that I talked about from the first 8 cards that got released this week. But look, we're going to cover a lot today. We're going to talk about auction prices versus buy now prices. We have a limited data sample to look at. We're going to take a look at that. The market is showing good signs, and then we're also going to dive into the 2 cards that got announced today. But first, if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs by July 1st, and we need your help. So please thumbs up the video, hit subscribe, and now let's get back to Project 2020. And I'm going to try something new today a little bit. I'm usually pretty much live on the comments within the video, but today, after this video posts for the first 30 to 45 minutes, I'll be live in the comments. So if you have a question about what I talk about or a data sample or data point, leave a comment below and I'll respond. I'll be live for the first 30, 45 minutes after the video posts. But look, let's talk about this week. And the video yesterday was about what are we going to learn and what are those numbers going to tell us. And yesterday we had Mattingly and Rivera post. And both of those numbers, as I properly predicted the second time around, I would be wrong in my projection just because there were so many unknowns with those 2 cards. The numbers overall were very interesting. And number one, the Yankee bump just didn't materialize. I figured when you think of the Yankee fan base and Yankee players selling more, regardless of what product it is, it just didn't happen here. And so to see these 2 cards come in below Griffey and Thomas, when you can argue that the Thomas and the Griffey card had more negative publicity about it, was very, very surprising. The second one, though, was that they sold basically 1,000 cards apart. I think it was like 1,009. So it was really interesting to see those cards mirror each other, but really only have 1,000 people not buy that Mattingly. Because I thought for a second there in the video that possibly these cards are going to come in, right next to each other, because I just don't know how as a Yankee fan you only buy one or not the other. But maybe the potential people who are buying these to flip obviously bought more Mattinglys than Riveras. That's probably what explains it. But I'd probably surmise that a lot of Yankee fans just bought one for one. But overall, the numbers just didn't bear out to the overall, my original projection of like 8 to 10 and 10 to 13. So, another overshoot here, but that's sort of my trend right now. I'm having a difficult. But enough about what happened. Let's talk about what's happening right now. And that's going to be the pre-orders today, the pre-orders for tomorrow, the print runs, all that good stuff. So taking a look at the data right now on pre-orders. When you look at Dwight Gooden and Ichiro. So Dwight Gooden has the Fucci and Ichiro has the Kishore. I still feel confident on the Dwight Gooden Fucci. I had a target of 50 reservations. He came in at 39. So very, very, very low. I still think there's that sort of that flip mentality. There's still some, people out there buying these to flip, on the secondary market more than there was before the first 57. So I still think 4 to 6. I think he's the first card that we're going to see under that 6K bubble. On the Ichiro, if I miss here, I think it's because I'm going to be too short. We had 80 as a target for 48-hour reservations. He came in at 84. So when you think of 5 to 7K, I like that range, but I think 5 to 6 on this card is low, maybe even too low. So maybe 7 to 9 is a better range here for this card, but then again, 9 is really high. So I think I could undershoot this one, but at the same time, I'm not moving my numbers. I like where they are. We will see where they go at the end of the day. Now, looking at Trout and Mike Williams, what sport is this? Ted Williams. Mike Trout, after one day, had 233 pre-orders, and Ted Williams had 80. And when you look back at their previous 2 releases, so Ted Williams, I believe, was card 90, and then, of course, Trout was 100. Ted Williams had over 400 pre-orders then, and Mike Trout had over 800. I don't think it's a straight correlation of, well, if we're at 800 and now we're at 200, it's a fourth less. Last card, Mike Trout had 75,000 printed, and then the old man Allen had, I think, 41,000 printed. But I think when you think of where these cards are at in the current market, in the current environment, who's buying it, on the Mike Trout, I think right now we're looking at 25 to 30K. I don't think there's enough oxygen in the room right now to drive this card over 35, 40, 50,000. I know I've said this many times, the autograph is a gimmick. It's not a reason why you buy these cards. But 25,000 in this environment, I think, is a ton of inventory. But I don't know if it gets over 30,000. We'll see today with the inventory, with the pre-orders and where they go. But right now, I think 25 to 30 with this Mike Trout. Second here on the Ted Williams. There is a lot of good press about this card, a lot of people really liking this card, and I think this is going to sell more than we expect. So that's why I have the number here at 12 to 15K, just because the work Tyson Beck did with this card is just amazing. And like I said yesterday, this card to me is better than the Mike Trout. And also, how did Topps let Tyson Beck release a second card with Mike Trout? I mean, give him his own day. I mean, he's putting out great work right now, but this is the second card in a row he's had to go up against Mike Trout in the same day. So that was an interesting thing I saw last night on the numbers. But look, we'll see. But I think this is going to be a large print run day when it comes to tomorrow morning when you look at the combined numbers. But 25 to 30 and then 12 to 15 for the Ted Williams Tyson Beck. But let's switch gears now from the hypothetical what might happen to what has happened and some real hard facts or some real hard numbers around actual sales when it comes to Project 2020. And one thing that I've been noticing as I've been looking at sales data information every day is that there is a disparity in auctions and buy it nows. But we know that in a sense. We know that when we sell sports cards, you're going to sometimes have auctions go for greater than buy it now prices. And when you have a product that's brand new, like a normal release, if you do like a auction within the first couple of days on a hard to come by or hard to find card, it's gonna sell for a higher amount than it would at a buy it now. So there are a lot of different factors when it comes to auctions. What I wanted to do was take last week's data and say, okay, where did we finish from an auction perspective and where did we finish from a buy it now perspective? I understand it's a limited data sample size. It's only 1 week, but I didn't want to go back a second week because those prices compared to last week are, well above that number. So I wanted to look at some real-time information on auctions versus buy nows, and then also take a look at the pricing for this week. So here's the chart from last week when it comes to sales from 6.9 to 6.15 split out between auction and buy it now and best offer. Now, the one thing you're going to notice in a couple of these cards is when you look at the sales total. So for example, Jackie Robinson number 3, 19 sales, 358. But you're going to see 6 auctions and 14 buy it nows. When I went back to Terapeak and looked at the data individually, it is 14 and 6, but then when I grouped it together, it's 19. And I don't know why that is in Terapeak, but the 19 at 358.11 is correct. So as we continue to add data, we'll see if this sort of trend continues, but a couple of these numbers do not add up. But by looking at the chart here, when it comes to best offer buy it now versus auction, there are 12 cards of the first player cards that went at a higher price at buy it now best offer versus auction. Only 8 cards in the auction went higher than buy it now best offer. But when you look at the pricing overall, the average pricing, they are very, very similar because there are 2 cards at auction here. The Mike Trout Ermsey went at auction at $759.38 versus $658.66, and also the 12 Dwight Gooden went for $645.72 versus an average buy now price of $529.26. But when you look at these numbers overall, they're very, very similar for the most part. I mean, there's not a big gap one way or the other, but on those 2 cards, the lowest print run card and the first Mike Trout, auctions were the better way to go. But look, this is a limited sample size here of information, but it does beg the question, are we selling these at auction or buy it now? I still think that on these high print run cards, so 61 and to where we are now at 120, whatever it is, I still think buy it now best offer is the best one, just because the demand, there's so much inventory out there. I think you're taking a big risk of having it sell for $16 versus 21, 22, or 24 at auction because those prices are so low. So that's what I would do with the higher print run cards. Now, on the lower print run cards under 60, first player cards, I think it's really dependent on the card itself and what the market is showing. Look, there's no way of knowing and taking my data right now and saying, well, I'm going to go auction off these 8 cards and I'm going to sell these 12 at buy it now. You can't do that. But I think you've got to really look at the research and look back at the sold prices. And I'll continue to update this. But right now, it's 50-50 if auction is better than buy it now when it comes to these lower print run cards. But let's look at the pricing from yesterday on the top 20 and see if we move forward again. Look at all of that green. Ichiro positive, Mike Trout positive, Ripken positive. I mean, the best gainer yesterday was Bob Gibson at 325 versus the past couple of days, which was 268, or sorry, 229.25. So some good movement here. Look, the Mattingly and the Henderson, the two lowest performers yesterday, they did have some really low accepted buy it now prices, which I just don't understand right now why people are taking or accepting these very low offers when there's other offers out there or other prices that are $100 more. So those prices are dependent on somebody taking a really low offer. But when you look at it overall, I mean, Gwynn's up, McGuire's up, Nolan Ryan's up, Derek Jeter's actually up to $44 versus the $39.02 from the past couple of days. So there are some good signs here when it comes to the market overall. Now, looking at the chart, it's the tale of two stories here in a sense. Look, volume upticked, but that volume upticked because Mike Trout has a pre-order right now, so that volume naturally is going to increase, and pricing is going to come down because now we had over 230 cards sold at $17. So to me, it feels, if you remove those numbers, which I have not removed them just to look at them, you would probably see even volume and maybe even an uptick in sales. But overall, comparative to where we have been, it's up and down, but at least it is flattening out. But the good thing is at the top 20, we're seeing movement there. And even cards that missed in the top 20 are 97, 98, 99%. So a strong weekend of sales here could push all of them into the green. We'll find out how this weekend goes. But now let's take a look at Rickey Henderson and Bob Gibson. So here is that Rickey Henderson, and I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I'm like, hey, it's a Panini card in Project 2020. But look, not every card is going to speak to everybody the same way, and this card to me is, when you think back to Rickey's last couple of cards, I'm not feeling this card. But look, it's not about me, it's about if you're a fan of Rickey and a fan of Rochester, do you like this card? And I think there are people out there who will really like this card. So just me personally, not a fan of it. But look, how did we get here with Rochester? This is now his 7th card overall, and his last two were Willie Mays and Mike Trout. His Willie Mays to me was really good. That sold 10,500. His Trout sold 33,000. But Rochester led us off originally. He was the second card out. Then he had Ripken, Thomas, and then the Griffey. Print run wise, he's been very low. Yes, his Mike Trout is up there in number 11 at the moment, but for the most part, he has not had a ton of success when it comes to just his cards overall when you think of the current time period that we're in with the print runs. But then Henderson himself, this is his 6th card. So Joshua Vides was his first. Then Matt Taylor's Rickey Henderson was second, which to me, or some people think that's the best card out there of Henderson. I like the JK5 the best. Then you've got Blake Jameson, Ben Baller, and the JK5 here. I'm not going to do the print run totals here. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm getting a lot of comments, and I understand that the ranking system is flawed because of the time period we're in. I'm going to try to move this data around a little bit. But overall, look, Rickey Henderson 1/10 on 14 up to a high of 23 with his Ben Baller. So where do we see Rickey Henderson finishing? I mean, 6,000 to 8,000. I think 8,000 seems high right now, thinking about the card overall, but we'll find out tomorrow with the reservations. But now let's look at Bob Gibson. And to me, that Bob Gibson is the best card of the two. The best card of the two. I really like the pink of it, the design overall, and I really like King Saladin. Now, looking at King Saladin overall, look, his last card was 105 with Nolan Ryan, and before that, he had a 30-card layoff with the Ichiro. But he led us off with Ken Griffey and Derek Jeter. He has 2 first player cards, which is kind of neat, and then he had the Mattingly and the Willie Mays. From a print run perspective, he has not been in the top. He's not been in the bottom. He's just kind of right in the middle, kind of average based on when his cards come out. So it's been interesting to see his progression overall. I like his style, but apparently it's not at the top and it's not at the bottom. But we'll find out how this card does today for Bob Gibson. And then Gibson overall, look, this is his 6th card. When you look at Grotesque, Sophia Chang, Keith Shore, Tyson Beck, Ermsey, and Gregory Siff. His best card is that Ermsey, which was in the top 10 for a little bit, but now it's well outside the top 10. So where is this card going to land? Is this card going to perform better than the Rochester? I think it will. Is it going to be 20% more, 15% more? We're going to find out. So there we have it. We covered a lot today on a Friday, but it's an important into week number 13. Also, do not forget, I'm going to be live in the comments right now answering any questions you might have about this video or Project 2020 in general. And please do not forget to subscribe and thumbs up this video. Have a fantastic Friday, and I'll see you back tomorrow morning for episode number 31.